Welcome to a session on systematic map. I would like to answer some frequently asked questions. So, what is a systematic map? Systematic map follows the same rigorous, objective, and transparent process as do systematic reviews to capture evidence that is relevant to a particular topic. So, what is the purpose of doing a systematic map? To develop a greater understanding of concepts, to identify evidence for policy relevant questions, to identify reviews which can be used to generate higher level evidence products such as guidelines, to identify knowledge gaps, and to identify knowledge clusters, that is, subsets of evidence that may be suitable for secondary research, for example, using systematic review methodology. So, systematic maps play an important role in evidence synthesis because they are able to cover the breadth of science often needed for policy based questions. When to do a systematic map? For broad questions, for multifaceted questions relating to a topic of interest that may not be suitable for systematic review due to the inclusion of multiple intervention, multiple population, or multiple outcomes, or evidence not limited to primary research. It is often used in a two-stage model of systematic review as a means of initially characterizing the evidence base, followed by the identification of smaller subsets of studies that can be used to answer more focused questions through systematic review. So, what do you expect to see in a systematic map? It describes the quantity and nature of research in a particular area, such as a matrix of intervention categories as rows and outcome domains as columns. You can also see more features in a systematic map, such as number of articles published, number of publications per year, number of studies from each country, type and number of interventions, type and number of different study designs, different type of outcomes, etc. It is also possible to identify trends, knowledge gaps, and knowledge clusters by looking at a systematic map. So, what do you expect to see in a systematic map? To be more precise, different colored circles, type and quality of evidence, usually traffic light pattern for quality of evidence, red for low quality, and green for high quality. The size of the circle also denotes the volume of evidence. Large size denotes more evidence. And you can use filters like regional filters, population, study design, etc. to understand more specific characteristics. User summaries and link to sources are also another feature of a systematic map, and we can identify the areas suitable for evidence synthesis and also gaps to be filled by primary studies. So one of the main question asked is, what is the difference between a systematic map and a systematic review? We will see the answer in the next few slides. So we will see one by one based on the stages in evidence synthesis. First is regarding the review question or the map question or the scope. Systematic map describe the state of knowledge. Usually the questions are very broad compared to a systematic review, which is more qualitative or a quantitative or a mixed method type of narrow questions in a systematic review compared to a systematic map. So search strategy. In systematic map, there is no limitation on research evidence. That means we can include both primary and secondary research. But in a systematic review, sometimes the evidence is related to only quantitative studies, for example, RCTs, or sometimes it is only related to qualitative studies, sometimes both. But there is generally some limitation in the study design in a systematic review. Article screening. For a systematic map, we need not have the full text of all the articles. We can include limited data for systematic map, but for systematic review we need full text of all the included articles. Data extraction. Limited information is extracted in a systematic map, but more detailed information about the findings and the other aspects of the study is extracted in a systematic review. Critical appraisal stage is optional for systematic map, but this stage is compulsory in a systematic review. So synthesis, usually the trends in the knowledge, trends in the literature, knowledge gaps and clusters identify, but no synthesis of study results in a systematic map. But for systematic review, we do qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method type of synthesis to synthesize the findings from the different studies. The reporting part of systematic map, usually it is in a visual form or sometimes it is in a descriptive way of reporting. But systematic review is often written as qualitative or quantitative or a mixed method type of synthesis, and the details of all the various sections are presented in including the implications for policy and practice and the recommendation gaps, etc. So, what is an evidence gap map? You must have heard about this term or come across in the literature a lot. So, evidence gap map, it is developed by the International Initiative for Impact Evaluation, otherwise it is 3IE. These are thematic evidence collections of completed and ongoing systematic reviews and impact evaluation, especially on effectiveness of interventions. So, they follow a similar methodology like systematic maps, in which the evidence is searched, screened, and catalogued. But the terminology they use, 3I, is used as evidence gap map. Is there other terminology for mapping evidence exist? Yes, I have heard about mega map. It is a map with broader scope covering a large sector or several sectors that include only systematic reviews and other maps. I have seen some published mega maps of systematic reviews and evidence and gap map on the effectiveness of interventions to improve child welfare in low middle income countries. Another terminology I have come across is map of maps, a map with a very broad scope covering many sectors that only includes other maps. So it is map of maps. For example, a map of evidence map relating to low and middle income countries such as like that. It is very broad and it is covering only the maps. So let us see little bit about the history of evidence mapping. I'm not going into too much of detail, just want to highlight some milestones. In 2003, systematic mapping methodology emerged from Epicenter University College London. So that is where I work now. So they have some kind of a systematic mapping which is reported in the literature. And in the same year, Yale Prevention of Research Center also developed evidence mapping methods, and these were all descriptive reports. In 2010, 3IE produced evidence gap map, and it is a visual interactive version of the evidence gap map. So I think 3IE is the first organization started visualizing this produce the visual presentation of the evidence gap map. In 2017, Campbell Collaboration initiated gap maps and started using EPPI-Mapper software from the Epicenter University College London. So coming to the methodology of systematic map, we have seen the stages when we saw the difference between a systematic map and systematic review. However, I would like to summarize the 6 main stages. Stage 1, it is establishing review team, engaging stakeholders, setting the scope of the systematic map and the question, setting the inclusion criteria for studies, and also it is a stage of protocol development stage. So stage 2 is searching for evidence, stage 3 is screening evidence, stage 4 is coding, and stage 5, which is optional stage, that is critical appraisal, and stage 6 is describing and visualizing the systematic map, that is the reporting stage. So I would like to answer a few other commonly asked questions. Can I contextualize systematic map? To some extent, you could use filters for geographic locations such as country filter, regional filters, and also filters for population subgroups, etc. Can I have primary studies and systematic reviews in a systematic map? Yes, we can have all type of studies in a systematic map. But you can see some of the evidence gap map, they are restricted to some particular type of studies. Sometimes you can see only impact evaluation, sometimes you will see an evidence gap map of only systematic reviews, etc. Do I need a protocol for a systematic map? Yes. Protocol defines the scope of the map. You can also provide the framework in the protocol. For example, the dimensions used in the map. For example, in the effectiveness map, usually the intervention and outcomes are used as rows and columns, and also the filters, the search strategy, the coding form, and the analysis and reporting plan. This all can be included in a protocol for systematic map. What is a framework in this systematic map? It is a primary dimension, that is how the rows and columns are represented. In an effectiveness map, the rows and columns are the intervention and outcomes in the PCOS. Framework is the basis for the search strategy and coding forms and for presenting and analyzing the findings. So how to develop the framework? It is tailor-made for the systematic map because it is based on the systematic map question and the scope. It is derived from the objectives of the map, and you can also refer existing frameworks on the topic, like how the intervention categories and the outcome categories are generally represented. You can also use global strategy documents to get an idea about the intervention categories and the outcomes of interest. You can also refer to funders and have discussion with funders and stakeholders. Is critical appraisal of studies necessary for a map? There are three options. Critical appraisal of all studies we can do. Critical appraisal of some studies, for example, sometimes I have seen only the systematic review is critically appraised and primary studies are not appraised. Maybe due to the large numbers and things like that, the practical difficulties. And sometimes you don't have to do critical appraisal at all because this is an optional stage, and sometimes due to the huge volume of studies it may not be possible or a viable option. So what software to be used to produce map? I'm sure there are many softwares available, but I would like to highlight few softwares which I am familiar with. The first one is EPPI-Mapper, because I work in Epicenter and I'm familiar with this software. It is used for systematic reviews as well as for the systematic map. It is to visualize the maps of maps of research evidence. It is built initially to support the Campbell collaboration, and it is available to use for available freely to use for all EPI reviewer users. So this is how it looks like. So the columns and rows are represented by the interventions and outcomes, and you can see the circles with different colors and sizes which represent the quality and the quantity of evidence. And also you can see from the links, you can see the other features of the map. You can use the filters. You will get the description of the summaries and the link to the sources of studies. I have heard about Tableau, another software. It is mainly for the visual representation of the systematic map, and AV Atlas is another software. 3IE has their own software to produce the evidence gap map, and all the details are available from the 3IE website. I will provide these links in the description. And Campbell evidence gap map is also available in the Campbell website, and they have a detailed guidance to produce evidence gap map. And 3IE also has detailed guidance to produce the evidence gap map. Can I publish a map? This is also another frequently asked question. Yes, I have seen many maps are published in the form of journal article, like a descriptive report. Here are few examples. Cyberbullying and children and young people's mental health, a systematic map of systematic reviews, published in Cyber Psychology in 2020. Another systematic map published in European Journal of Contraception and Reproductive Healthcare. This is our work done with colleagues from Epicenter and colleagues from India. So intervention to support contraceptive choice and use, a global systematic map of systematic reviews. And another publication I can see is about an evidence and gap map from the Campbell Systematic Review. By the Campbell Systematic Reviews, interventions for reducing violence against children in low and middle income countries. So these are some of the references. More links are provided in the description. If you think the video is useful, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.